Well, hello and welcome to episode number 410 of the Plane Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, an A321 has a ding and carries on flying. Ryanair flight leaves without its passengers, and one passenger decides to use an alternative exit while on a flight in the US. And this week, we haven't got any military, but there is a reason for that. So joining me this week, as always, across in the PTUK Master Suite studios, it is, of course, the legend of tech. It is Matt Smith.
I wouldn't go that far. Legend of tech, what does that mean?
Well, you have just taken over quite a big role at the radio station.
Oh, sure. Yeah, moving on. Next question.
Anyway, how are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you, mate. Yeah, it's been a busy old week, as you well know. I think we've all had busy weeks this week. But it's been good weather-wise, actually. We've been very lucky.
It's been very nice, yeah. It's 21 degrees outside at the moment, yeah, actually. 21 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's quite warm here. It's been a lovely sunny day. We had a bit of rain, actually, yesterday, which was quite
refreshing, I think, is the word you're looking for there. Yeah, absolutely.
Quite nice. So this week we are missing Armando. Unfortunately, Armando can't be with us this week because he is busy flying a very, very nice aircraft with a plush leather interior, etc., etc. But he'll be back. Also, I'm just being passed a glass of wine.
Oh dear! My goodness me! What did your last slave die of?
I know, it's terrible. Honestly, doing podcasting is such a terrible life.
Is it? Right.
But Armando hopefully will be back with us next week. So we have no military this week, unfortunately. That is the reason why.
Nev is devastated. If you could only see his face, honestly, he'd be absolutely mortified.
But joining us back this week, he's back from his trips. He's been on about 1,000 different BA flights over the last 2 weeks. It is, of course, the absolute fantastic legend that is Mr. Neville Bounds.
Yes, I'm back from flight level 370 and other.
Nev, please don't make it sound like a threat. That's it's just like, I'm back.
Yes, I am back. But no, been a very busy couple of weeks, so sorry I've not been around. First week was because I was in Dundee and Edinburgh, which was very nice. And then last week I was in Rome with Mrs. Nev for a couple of days of R&R. And we just got the weather right as well. It's about 24, 25 degrees for the whole time we were there. And just as we were leaving, the weather deteriorated. So we could not have timed it better. And it was an absolute pleasure to see Jenny Parkinson, our good friend. We had a nice lunch with her as well in Rome. So that was brilliant. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's good to have you back, Nev.
Thank you. But of course, there's always a story, isn't there, when I'm flying? Something always.
Have you got a rant, Nev? Have you got a rant that you need to get off your chest?
I have to mention it, I'm afraid. On the way back, we boarded the aircraft in Rome, Fiumicino, to come back, and all locked up and everything. And the captain comes over, the PA does normal announcement. I said, I'm really sorry, but because things are getting a bit busier now, we've got a slot delay, and we'll probably be on the ground we can't really start engines for another hour, but as long as we're ready to go, then Eurocontrol often give us, preferential treatment. So it might be 45 minutes, might be 40 minutes, not sure. But, sit back, relax. You can use your phones and everything else, but we've closed the aircraft up and ready to go. Everybody's absolutely fine with that, except Mr. So-and-so in 12D.
Uh-oh. I like how you've remembered the seat number. That says its own story.
Yes, I didn't even know 12D existed, frankly. But anyway, so he comes up to the front of the cabin and starts remonstrating with the in-flight lead, as BA call them these days, and says, well, because of the coronavirus, I don't think we should be stuck in the aircraft on our own. It's very dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And two things I would say about that. Firstly, the in-flight lead was absolutely superb by the way he dealt with this, and said, well, we need to be ready to go because we'll get short notice, just a couple of minutes, and we can't have people milling about inside the terminal. We need to have everybody strapped in and all the flight deck crew there and all the cabin crew there ready to go. And he was going on and on and on about this. And he was just on the point of being objectionable, I would say. But honestly, the cabin crew dealt with it so well. But also, what is the difference between sitting down in an aircraft and doing 600 miles an hour through the air? No difference whatsoever. because the APU's running and there's plenty of air conditioning, and because we're in Italy, we still have to wear masks as well on the aircraft, so it makes no difference whatsoever. But I just wanted to say to the Craig, who was the in-flight lead on that flight, what a fantastic job you did, sir, and thank you very much indeed for representing the airline in such a superb way that you did. And there's always one, isn't there? There's always somebody that has to
absolutely
be unfortunate, but there we go. That's how it was. And sure enough, 40 minutes later, we started engines and off we went. So it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. But no, it was just the rather objectionable tone that this gentleman had. But anyway, we're all okay, and we're back home, and my blood pressure is now returned to normal. So.
Very good.
Well, I'm glad you got that off your chest,
Yes.
Nev. I'm glad you got that off your chest. More to come, I expect, in the future, Nev. Definitely. So we've got some guests, very special guests on the show this evening. We're going to say a quick hello to the chat room this evening before we introduce our amazing guests for tonight. And let's have a look and see who's joined us this evening. We've got Richard Adams, who was very early in the chat room this evening, as always. Lee Davies, hello to you as well. We've got, we'll scroll down here, GB's Model Zone, hello to you. Mazouz Karim, hello to you, Mazouz. Hope you're well. Jenny in Rome, who Nev went and saw last week. Hello to you, Jenny. We've got Lee Davies is in there. Dave Abbey. Hello to you, Dave Abbey. Good to see you in there this week. Masha's also in there. Hello to you, Masha. I hope things are nice and sunny across where you are. Lane Street is also in the chat room. Good to see Lane in there this week, always bringing in the comedy into the chat room. John Clarder is also in the chat room. Our producer, John, is in the chat room, which might get interesting.
Oh.
He should be at work, honestly.
He's supposed to be, honestly, he can't help himself, can he? He's just, it's because he wasn't here last week either. I think he doesn't like us being left, out wild, on our own, unsupervised.
Hello to Dirk S as well, who's also in the chat room this week as well. And hello to everyone who's joined us in the chat room this week. Don't forget, if you're listening to the show as an audio podcast, take yourselves over to our YouTube page, search for us on their YouTube, Plain Talking UK, and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when we are live and recording new episodes like we are now, and join in with the chat room fun. So, as I said, we have got two very special guests on the show for this evening's show. And if you cast your minds back to a few weeks back when a certain piece of aircraft suddenly appeared in my office here at home, and it was a few months ago that I noticed a certain website and a certain Instagram page that caught my eye. And, well,
is this the one that keeps nearly getting you divorced?
It's safe to say that if I continue looking at this website, that may very well happen, and Matt Smith will be living here permanently. We have got two very special guests on the show, as I said, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome onto the show from Doors2Manual. There's the social media, give them a search on there. Aine Drew, hello to you guys.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
Nice to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. And as I say, thanks for bringing such pleasure to me over the last few weeks. Honestly, it was one of the best things I've ever received from a courier.
I mean, you say that. What he forgets is I'm the one that gets the text messages from his wife complaining about what the show has yet again made him purchase. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword for me, if I'm brutally honest.
We normally cause two things. It's either divorce or marriage type of thing. Where, our website has told some stories already. So yeah.
Nice.
I just wonder what he's going to come up with next. There's obviously bits and pieces going on. The next thing it'll be an APU or an RB211 or something.
Absolutely.
Will show up. So there's no limit to this gentleman's
and I'm
fondness for parts.
I'm absolutely convinced, by the way, he's slowly trying to build himself a TriStar LTEL 11, if I'm honest with you. He's going to start slowly buying parts piece by piece so he ends up with one. Where he's going to put it, goodness only knows. But
no, I have to say, guys, when I saw that you were going to be working with the dismantling of the TriStars, it kind of definitely lit up with me anyway, being a massive fan of the TriStar and have been since I was very young. It was 100% something that I was going to do whether it led to divorce or not, would be to buy a piece of the L1011. So hats off to you guys for choosing such a great aircraft to part bits off with. Us good.
It can go again. That's something else, can go both ways, because we would love to save the whole aircraft and create museums up and down the country. But I know there's a lot of these planes people are very sad to see cut up, but I guess we're doing our best, what we can to save what we can from them.
So I suppose we should start with you both then, and kind of sort of a bit about your backgrounds, I suppose, really, and where, aviation backgrounds or your background leading up to kind of the where you are now. But we'll start with you, Annie. Where did things start with you in regards to
my obsession with aviation? You mean? Not quite. So I started working in aviation in 2005. I started working for Aer Lingus in Dublin Airport, and I worked with them for 12 years. Up until 2017. I had met Drew about a year previous to leaving Aer Lingus through the company that we both work for now, and we more or less connected on, we end up working together, and we still do to this day. And then Doors2Manual kind of came to life during lockdown, when we were sort of sitting at home in the evenings and wondering what we could do, but we'd quite similar paths. I think Drew did more flying. I was ground staff, so would a lot of passenger handling in Dublin Airport, and then I moved into sort of an admin rostering role, and then I ended up in project management for about 2 years before I left. So I've kind of had all aspects of anything from on the ground under the aircraft to being up in the ops side and work on project stuff.
So you've gone sort of moved from being within an airline to doing what you do now with Doors2Manual, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we both work for an avionics company, Drew and I. So we do still work with airports and airlines, and then Doors2Manual is our evening and weekend that keeps us busy. So I will say that Drew probably keeps me busier than the actual company itself. So he's the one that's always out and about hustling, and I'm the one that's trying to keep a check on him and make sure we're not spending too much. So
absolutely.
So Drew, same for you. Where was the beginnings for you?
Yeah, so I guess I'm probably a little bit more of a nav geek than Anya. I would only say a little bit. I'm a few years younger though than Anya, which she won't like me saying.
Ouch, my feelings.
Mortified is the word. Yeah.
So my plan was to be a pilot, actually, and I had a business whenever I was younger, doing a state agency, and I sort of got to a point with that, saying if I don't come out of this now, I'm stuck there for life. So. I went and flew as cabin crew with Thomson Airways for 6 months, just to double check it was all right for me. So I thought, yeah, definitely want to fly. So moved over to EasyJet, flew as cabin manager for about a year and a half in preparation to hopefully go into their pilot's apprenticeship scheme, and then got pulled into ground management. So I was one of the operations manager for Gatwick. So we had about 50 aircraft based there for EasyJet. So I was there for 3.5 years, and then I took the position as airport manager in Manchester and Liverpool for EasyJet for a year. I did a very quick stint for Jet2 briefly while I was waiting on the position a minute. So yeah, as Anya says, it's an avionics company. They do everything from spaceships to American military and defense to airport technology. So Anya and I work in self-service airport stuff, so bag drop, biometrics, all of that side of things. So that, yeah, as honest as that, keeps us busy during the day. And then I guess with COVID hitting and the 747s being scrapped, I guess that whole thing around lockdown had everybody sort of watching what was going on. I'm sure this is stuff that you guys have talked about, and with that. Plane reclaimers, who are the big scrappers down in Cardiff, they had done a bit of a program back, I think probably 3 years ago now, which is still available on YouTube. And I recommend everybody watches them, and that sort of, I think, got everybody sort of twitching with it, where you could start to buy bits of planes. So I bought a couple of British Airways 747 windows, one which is blurred behind me here, and then plane reclaimers put up a story with a a big girl on it from the one of the Virgin 747s, and it got me twitchy. Carlos, I don't know if you can put the photograph up at some point, but so I thought this has to be for me. So I purchased the Ladybird from the left-hand side of GVAST, which is the last Virgin 747 to be scrapped, which is in my living room, which hopefully will allow you to
I
see.
remember getting that call, Drew. I was like, have you lost your mind?
Actually, Matt, you've got the picture somewhere.
Okay, what am I looking for? So, somebody, because this will be a big shock to you all, but I'm not very good at this. Are we talking about the Virgin?
Yes.
Thing?
Yeah,
yes. Okay. I think we're talking about this one. I think, are we?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there it is. My goodness me! Now that is quite the statement, isn't it?
So
Were you married at the time?
No.
Right. Okay, that tells its own story.
I wasn't cohabiting either. I know I am cohabiting. So,
right.
It's clearly not done. It's as bad as it wants to be. But the hope is that she will still eventually move out the door. But we'll see. So yeah, she's 3.5 meters wide by 1.8 meters tall. And people keep asking how I got her in through the door, but thankfully you can see in the photograph actually you can. Able to walk around
essentially by the big gap in the wall that
by
you had. Yeah, and the patio doors were added so that you could get that in. Is that yeah?
That's the reason. So she's actually sitting on like two stools at the minute. So we're toying with whether we attach her to the wall, but she's that heavy that we're afraid will it actually pull the wall down?
Pull the house down.
So yeah. But anyway, so we did that, and then Thomas Cook had gone bust. The Thomas Cook Airbus 330s. There was three of them sat at Manchester Airport for a while, and they had just been scrapped. And I wanted a bit of one of those, so I saw it on eBay, I think, and I'd contacted one of the companies who was selling bits from it, and I just sort of had a brainwave with Anya going, we are missing something here, and there's as I say, Plane Reclaimers and some of the other companies out there who do a little bit of what we do, but as we launch basically within a week. The name Doors2Manual comes from, I guess, my cabin crew days of Doors2Manual and Crosscheck, and I think it's worked really well from a brand perspective for us. But within a week we were up and running, and we've worked closely with a few scrapping companies in the UK. But what we wanted to, I guess, create is a one-stop shop of not just being able to buy from aircraft that were scrapped in one location, be that Cardiff or Kemble or the States or Asia or whatever. So, and after that, so as I started to bring aircraft parts in from all over the world, people came to us and were offering us. So I guess potentially, sadly, with COVID, there was obviously some older generation with the deaths and stuff. We had a few people coming to us saying we've spent COVID clearing out. Maybe sadly their parents had passed away with it, or just people were having a house clear out, and we were actually offered sets of memorabilia.
Yeah, the memorabilia became very popular, didn't it?
Yeah, the memorabilia side really took off because we were able to help people whose parents were maybe into aviation for years, that an attic full of it, and they didn't want to just go to the tip, or to sell it to somebody that's gonna, it's not going to be put to use and loved and cared for. So this way we sort of provided this facilitation, of course, for us to make money, but also for us making sure that the memorabilia and your Dan Air Atlas boxes or your old Caledonian badges and uniform items actually are going to homes that are going to really love them. And then we do a bit of upcycling as well. So upcycling isn't our main thing. I actually see Mike from Jetstream TV, I think, is in the chat room. So Mike helps us with a lot of our upcycling in making bag tags and making bits and pieces out of planes. We turn anything from a PSU light into a little desk lantern. So the key rings are obviously one of the most popular things. So yeah, we're hoping that we sort of ticked all of those boxes, that there's a treasure trove in there to cause chaos for everybody out there who has a few quid to spend, and that we try, so you can go out there and spend thousands of pounds on upcycled tables out of wheels and all of that stuff. We've tried to create a shop that's affordable for everybody and divert as well. So hopefully we're providing that. Certainly from what you've said, Carlos, we are. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where your money speaks.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to lie. I have been looking at the boxes today as well.
Okay. Dirk's got a great question actually, which Never's just popped up for us. He's saying, how do they even get all this stuff in the first place? Do you just ask around? Hey, do you have a plane we can chop up?
So yeah, a bit of everything. So the likes of ASI is a Kimball. So we work directly off them, and we have a continuous supply of parts from certain aircraft. There's other scrappers who again will say to us, like, we're scrapping an aircraft. So STS Aviation, for example, who scrapped the last almost Cook 330 in UK, they don't do a lot of scrapping, but they'll let us know when one is coming up, and then we'll go, and sometimes we can go and actually cut bits off the aircraft ourselves. Other bits, so we've just started military, or well, about 6 months ago, and we started getting pieces of military stuff. So for example, there's I guess fanatics or people who have bought pieces of military aircraft from years and years ago, and have them sitting somewhere in storage. We'll go check the authenticity of it and then purchase it from private sellers as well. So a bit of everything.
Incredible. Now, another great from your friend, in fact, from Jetstream TV, is asking the question, loving what you guys do, great enthusiasm and drive behind everything they do. There you go.
Well, I would.
Praise indeed.
A good part of what we do is sitting on behind that message. So we really appreciate everything that Mike does for us as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We drive him mad.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly, it's some of the stuff you've got on the website. There's some real sort of memorable pieces of military aviation history, I think, especially with the stuff that you've obviously just recently done at Bruntonthorpe with the TriStars and the VC-10. Because though a lot of people were gutted when they didn't get those TriStars back in the air again, because there was, were they going to fly again? Were they not going to fly again? And they went backwards and forwards. But it's good, especially for me, but a lot of people, I suppose, is that who were fans of the tanker transports, that they can actually have a piece of that in their home now with the grey paint still on.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's so easy to say, we should keep that aircraft and park it there and maintain it. The cost to maintain an aircraft and keep it looking healthy is just unreal. And and in terms of the land for it and parking, it's something we'll come on to of a little bit of a thing to tell you about. But it's it's astronomical to move an aircraft if you don't fly it as well. And unfortunately, the reality is that if you can't, then it's going to be cut up, and this is as close as the thing as we can get to taking the whole plane. So, and the amount of people actually as well that so squares was the first thing we did. So between squares and key rings, 10x10 squares are really popular, and we had obviously offcuts because when you cut a section of the aircraft, it's very rough. So all of it to me is important, and I want to try and save and give away, or say offer the opportunity to purchase as much of that as possible. And weirdly shaped cuts of the plane are actually our most popular. 10 by roughly 10 by just cut really randomly, and we have some of our. I'll mention specifically Andrew Webb is one of our best customers out there, so I'll give him a shout out because he's so good with us. And Andrew loves the cut of the aircraft. Wants them all irregular and odd shaped, and that's another thing. So like we try and get random parts of aircraft. So like the composite from the tail looks amazing when you cut it, and bits of engine intakes and all of that, because it's some parts of the aircraft are amazing, some dangerous parts too. We've so the TriStar, we had the Ram air turbine. So the aircraft was half scrapped. So I was walking around and picking bits up of what I wanted and stuff, and the turbine was out. So I made the scrapper go and get the angle grinder and take it off the aircraft, but it was dripping in hydraulic fluid, which is so dangerous for you. So it's you're taking your life in your hands at times too. I've nearly
so dramatic, Drew. So dramatic.
Do you actually got the chance to go get up close and personal with the TriStars when they were being cut up then?
Yeah, I got on board one of them and on 241 as well. But yeah, we were in the scrap pad taking things out of the scrap pile
Drew gets to do a lot of the fun stuff that I don't because I'm based in Ireland. But I have made my way to some spots in Ireland to view aircrafts that we've gotten parts of. But Drew gets to enjoy most of the fun on that side.
So who does the kind of the research then when it comes to the aircraft that you're going to feature on the site or have parts of on your site? Do you kind of look around the country? Is there specific sites such as Kemble or somewhere where you find, oh, there's an aircraft here, it's going to be dismantled or cut up, we'll take something from that? Or who kind of does the research?
Yeah, it's we also work with another company, Jet Blast Aviation, who do a lot for us, and a good friend of ours, Chris Goodwin. So he helps a lot with the research as well, and Mike as well. So some of it you can plan ahead because there's for sites like Kemble and stuff where they know there's aircraft coming in. We don't get to find out much before that. It takes a while from the aircraft makes its final landing until it's cut. So in that stages, that's whenever you're really doing your planning with it. It's mad actually the amount of old aircraft. So like I have, we've got bits of Fokkers that haven't flown for years as well. That bits that people maybe have old engineers who might have taken off an unserviceable part and have it stored in their loft somewhere, and then suddenly it appears on eBay or something like that, and we grab the opportunity because we can do so much with it. And the other thing
sometimes it can be as well that we're seeing, some of those movement groups or whatever on Facebook, Drew, where, say, oh, there's whatever aircraft taking its last flight into Knock or whatever, be like, we get on to wherever we can. To be fair to Drew, he's always reaching out to people and he's always on the move looking for new things.
Yeah, and the other thing, we work with the spares companies, so this was something I knew nothing really about. So there's two quite big spares companies in the UK. So they go and they work with the engineering companies who service the aircraft. They will take back the parts that are unserviceable, and then either they work to get them serviced again, or if they're that. So I'm like, there's one of them in particular, he has stores and stores of, like, you guys on listening to this would just see it as an absolute treasure trove. So we're going in just like an absolute heaven, trying to pick our way through what would be like old. So we bought like interphones that were removed from some of the old BOAC first 747-200s, and they're still in the spares store.
Wow.
Because they've been removed as unserviceable. Thankfully,
one of the questions I was going to ask, actually, in fact, Dirk S has just asked, and you've kind of alluded to it already. How do you decide which parts will do, or do you just take everything you can get?
I would love to take everything we can get. I've just brought on an operations manager full time. He's a really good friend of mine, and she's going mental at me because of how we've packed the storage facility so high and we just can't move in it. So we're looking at how we do that. It's a very good question, because for us it's really been trial and error. Thankfully we don't have to hold stock for very long, but it's really knowing like the stuff that people buy. Unreal. There's some stuff I feel embarrassed to put on the website, less so now because we sell so much of it, but oxygen masks, or just like an old so a seat cushion that we've made into a phone cover. So a Virgin Atlantic 747 seat cushion made into a phone cover. Now obviously we get the abuse on social media from people going, oh my goodness, can you imagine the amount of people have sat and whatever on that. Obviously they're washed, but other people love it.
Yeah.
Well, actually, on that very theme, Lee Davis asks, if I need a new loo, how much would a plain toilet cost?
A plain toilet, the bowl itself is surprisingly cheap, and I did have one, and we sold it. I think it was about 120 quid. But yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think we've had more toilet doors and actual toilet bowls, to be fair, Drew.
But I mean, the other thing that's amazing is seeing what people do in their own houses to turn rooms into cabins, and we feel great to be a part of that, and we work with a lot of colleges as well. So the colleges who do the cabin crew training in preparation for kids who want to go on to be crew and stuff. So we provide a lot to them of emergency equipment and window panels and all of that stuff so that they can make their own sims. We have one customer, and he literally has turned his spare bedroom into a cabin. God knows what his parents think, but yeah.
No. You need to stop immediately there. Please do not give Carlos any more ideas on what he needs to do. Please. His marriage is literally hanging in there by a thread.
Yeah. So, and you know, it's nice to be a part of that, and I guess see the story. So, you know, we have so many customers that we connect with and are on a journey with of what they're trying to create. So it's you know, it's not like going into Sainsbury's and buying a pint of milk, you know, and it's a transaction and the transaction's done. You know, we're helping people create dreams and that. So that's the bit that, because we're both aviation background, of course it's about making money for us, but there's so much more about the love and enthusiasm that we have for it as well.
So, I mean, a slightly sort of off the wall question here. I mean, when you do find an aircraft that you can sort of take, you know, charge of, if you like, to then do with what you will, either to make keychains or, you know, whatever the plan is. I mean, do you literally get the whole aircraft? So do you get things like the controllers and stuff, or have certain elements of it already been stripped by the time you get to it? I mean, I guess obviously the engines have gone by the time you get anywhere near it.
So we don't take the whole aircraft. So the scrap. So basically, the airline or the lessor will generally sell the aircraft to the scrapper.
Right.
Once everything's been removed, they'll contact the scrapper. Maybe so. For example, 747s to remove like components, because the 74s are still flying. A lot of the flight deck equipment is removed. But so there's the aircraft, what remains is generally sold to whoever scraps. We do not do the scrapping. So for example, we did not scrap the TriStars and the VC10s. It's another company. We then go to the scrapper and walk around and say, we want all of this. Sometimes we can go in and, you know, we can have permissions to cut the aircraft. That's very seldom though. So we'll say, right, give us, you know, that section of the tail. And it might even get to the point. So the thanks for your comment there. The thing about the Thomas Cook tail in UK was we were so late. So this is the thing as well. We are the bottom of the pecking order. So the aircraft is about turning it into metal, crunched up, and getting the money for the scrap metal. Doing cuts out of the aircraft is not on the priority list for the scrapper. So we are literally, if there's time, because we get requests from people going, I'm going to send you a picture of the aircraft, and I'm going to draw the section that's 30 by 30 centimeters, and can you go and cut me that exact section? Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that, and we have to take what we can get. Yeah. As I said, for the Thomas Cook 330 in UK, we actually had to end up going to the digger driver who was contracted by the scrapper. The scrapper's, I guess, the one that goes in, removes all the components, does all of the dangerous bits. They don't always do the chop. So for that, we had to go to just the scrap metal cutter and go to the scrap metal yard in down in the Midlands to just literally take what we could out of a pile. Interesting.
It's one extreme to the other, huh?
Yeah.
I was thinking, Anya, as well. What about the possibilities in Ireland for this kind of thing around sort of Shannon and places like that? What's the possibilities for doing this in your part of the country?
Yeah, so I guess it is something that Drew and I have discussed, because we do have some contacts in Ireland that we have worked with, and we have gotten some stock from down in Knock. I guess the bit that we run into is because the business was initially started in the UK and has such a massive UK customer base, what happens is I take the stock and then we end up, it costs a fortune for me to send it from Ireland because of customs and everything now. So it is something that we definitely have looked into, and, you know, potentially it is something that we could do in the future. And it is something that I've told my other half, that there could potentially be, you know, part of the shed taken over by random bits of fuselage. So he is prepared.
I think Doors2Manual.ie is a definite possibility.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're Drew and I are always looking to expand, and we're always looking at new ideas of you know, where we can move about, and the fact that we have built that relationship in Ireland as well, you know, puts us in a better position to maybe look at the future and how much more we could maybe do on this side, like, you know.
One big thing that we run into, and this is so there's an Aer Lingus aircraft has gone into Knock now, and there's two Virgins 330s. Quite often, if the lessor maintains ownership of the airframe, and they contract the scrapper to scrap it, there is a possibility that the lesser is there is to be nothing sold from the aircraft and the whole thing must be scrapped. So you probably see, for example, Jet2 paints over their livery in grey before it's scrapped. So that happens a lot, where, and it's not necessarily the airline. Sometimes it can be the airline, but sometimes the lesser will say, well, you can't sell any colour because it's linked back to the original airline customer. Or
we can't do Regis or certain livery or whatever. Yeah,
or you can't sell any of it at all. So thing like it's not just because an aircraft's being scrapped doesn't mean that we can go and get parts from it, unfortunately. But
as much as I did try and get parts of the Aer Lingus to stick up in my new house, but it didn't work out.
She part of the tail in her hand on FaceTime to me, showing part of the shamrock, and obviously for Anya and me, Aer Lingus is a bit more special, but she couldn't get it smuggled out.
I know. When I looked originally on your site, and I saw that you were scrapping part or selling parts from ZD951, which is the window I've got behind me here on the wall. That the reason I picked 951 was because that was the one that had the 30 years logo on the engine number 2 on the tail, and obviously had the squadron logo painted on the tail. You know, the flying eagles with the bomb drop thing on. But one of the things I looked at, I said to myself, I wonder whether they're going to cut that entire logo out of the the 30 years and see if
out of the engine.
Yeah, the caroling on the.
So he's told me he's keeping some for me. So watch this space.
Oh dear.
Ian Cunningham in the chat room says, my girlfriend is a complete av geek and I'm worried she will want to turn our new home into the inside of an aircraft.
Thanks for that, Ian.
Dirk says, what's there to worry?
Well, quite.
Says, resistance is futile.
Right.
Bear in mind, Ian Cunningham is the guy who sent me a picture this morning of how we can set up the toilet occupied or not in our downstairs bathroom. So.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
He's equally as bad as me. He's just he's a closet one.
Yeah. I love that.
So obviously we've got you two guys on the show, but how many other team members are there? Because obviously you've got this huge website with hundreds and hundreds of parts that you sell on there. I mean, obviously you have help to kind of do the packing and wrapping and all the rest of it.
Until 2 weeks ago, there was me and Anya.
Wow.
So we have Kaz, who is our operations manager now. So she was on part-time, doing about 20 hours a week, but that was not packing, that was managing eBay, because eBay is a big selling platform for us as well. But yeah, it's myself does all the packaging. Anya, unfortunately, as she said, has to do all of the boring accounting side of it, and Anya does all the social media as well. But yeah, so Kaz is on full time now, thank goodness, because it was about to kill me. So and looking after that, we'll see how it goes. We have quite a big plan up our sleeve, which we'll maybe talk a little bit about in a second.
Actually, yeah, I was going to say, we'll talk about the actual section you've got, because that part of the 747, there are rumours that you want to auction or sell that piece off.
So there's a reason why I was going to do that, and that part I can't disclose, but it was to buy something else, because it's not owned by the business, it's owned by me. I was given the opportunity to buy the other side of the same aircraft. And for the way that my wall is shaped, she just would fit slightly better. So I'm just testing the water. So it's actually a really boring reason. It's just to swap it for the other side.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll see. I'll definitely be keeping one girl, whether it's her or the other side, I'm not sure. Plane Reclaimers were trying to sell me the other side to take both of them, but I definitely think I'd be on the straight.
So looking at all the parts that you, because there is a lot of parts, but kind of sort of scaling down a little bit and looking at a certain few parts, what has been the absolute biggest seller on your site? Do you know?
The tags.
Anya, you can probably. I mean, I would say the tags is probably the most popular. like, I mean, we've, and the cuts as well. So like the cuts are really popular, but we were never going to do tags. The plan was never to do tags because there's quite a lot of tag companies out there. Yeah. But I think then because we got access to so much skin from aircraft that the tag companies haven't got. So if we don't do tags from it, nobody will.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to be a competition to one of those big tag companies because it's not actually our ethos. Providing tags, like, so we don't do the same shape of tags all the time. We have tags that have composite attached to them. They have weird screws and rivets on the back because we want to provide something that still gives that authenticity about it. So yeah, the tags are probably one of the main ones, and also Mike's products. So Mike makes these amazing little light up acrylic tail fins, which would be good if you can, whenever you're doing your pictures and stuff, that you can put one of those up. So they're in. We have some airlines listed, but effectively Mike is and his better half are such whiz kids and design gurus that we can basically do any airline tail that you want. So if you do want to order one, just purchase any of the ones that you see on the website and just add in the notes which airline you'd want instead.
Actually, I'll put this on for the benefit of the viewers there. This is what we're talking about here. I think this is one of Nev's favorite pieces here on the website. With the acrylic light up tail fin there. I think that would be definitely one for Nev there.
Mike, I'll send the invoice for the plug after the call.
It's quite interesting as well, isn't it? I've just been, as we've been talking, I've been looking through the site, and the stuff that's on there is just unbelievable. But you also find, I don't know what you guys think, but I'm talking myself into purchasing something. And I was looking at it, I'm going, oh, that's a bit expensive. And then I look at it and go, well, actually, it's not too bad. And there's this sort of conversation that is just going on in my head the whole time. And I'm sure Carlos does the same. When you look at something, you go, oh, that's a bit dear.
Oh, no. The price is all right as far as he's concerned. He's got to get it past his wife.
Sort of 5 minutes, you've talked yourself around. Well, actually, no, I think it is quite good value. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some stuff that have a market value to them, and there's stuff that you can make comparisons on. Other stuff, you know, it is what people are prepared to pay for them to an extent. Unfortunately, with running a business, you know, we have massive overheads to cover, and but you know, because we buy off a lot of private sellers, but obviously we're VAT registered because of the size of company we are. We have to absorb the 20% VAT before we even start. So there's just loads of stuff. So to try and remain, I'm going to use the word competitive. We don't really have a competition as such, but you know, we want to try and remain affordable to as many people as possible.
Well, we want to be able to remain in business so that we can keep providing, you know, different items to people that they want to see. So
yeah, but you know, there's I guess when you're going to cut an aircraft up, it's just a section of the skin, which you can say, well, it's only worth the value of the scrap metal. What we're having to go in and pay for is somebody to go and cut it, and it's the labor attached to most of it is what's drives a lot of the cost. But I'd like to say that we try and remain as affordable as we can, on as much as we can.
Yeah, I think on that note, actually, Drew, one of the things I was going to say is that there are some companies that do a similar thing, like with the tags. But one of the things that I will say, in your defense as such, being in the UK where you are, is that I've ordered stuff before from other companies, and when they're based not in the UK, you do have to pay like an import tax as such when you get that delivered. You know, you pay your initial however much it is, say £50 for a part, but when you get it here to the UK, you then got to pay another X amount of money for them. And with you guys, obviously that's not an issue because you're in the UK, so it's
And we're a reseller for Aircraft Tag, which is a new company in Austria, but their tags are excellent. So the one that we launched with them was the GEUNA, which was the British Airways A318, which operated the BA1, which is the flight number that was taken over from Concorde. So that did really well, and their tags are really hot. They did really well. But yeah, I mean, that we struggle with that because of the amount that we export. So I would say 40% of our customers are not in the UK. And certainly from a Europe perspective, it's difficult because of Brexit, and our customers there have to pay import fees and stuff as well. But again, we're in the fortunate place that if somebody wants a piece of Thomas Cook aircraft, they can't go to Germany and go to our competitor and buy it. If they want it badly enough, we're the only people that are selling it, you know. So we have that sort of ability that it's an avgeek. If they want to spend the money, then they have to spend it with us if they want that part. Not for everything, but yeah.
But it's like even those 707 tags, Drew, right? The thickness of them, people were like blown away by them because they were so different, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's always what we're trying to get back to, is that we're not trying to be the same as anybody else or the one size fits all. It's that we've such a vast collection on there that we're always trying to, even when it comes down to our tags, do something that little bit different. You know,
with you two being sort of av geeks and that, is there an aircraft out there that you haven't had the chance to get parts off yet that you would love to get parts off that aircraft? Is there any particular aircraft?
So Concorde, we have had a small piece off, but we think we know the registration of it, but we couldn't use it because we couldn't validate that. We know it's Concorde because of the shape of it. Wasn't a cockpit with a specific piece of skin, which we were able to do about 10 tags from. So we would obviously love to do Concorde. We have Concorde coming, but it is not flown skin. It was skin that was due to be made into Concorde and then obviously wasn't.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and it's called Hindinium. So
Gosh.
I think we're gonna do some tags from that. And we just want to explore the military side a bit more. Spitfire was one, and I managed to get a tiny piece of Spitfire and do 4 tags from it. But again, getting Spitfire where there's no fatalities and all of that stuff is extremely difficult. It's more, again, from type of aircraft, from a commercial perspective, you know, the older aircraft are better. So we loved, as Ania's just mentioned, the 707. So that was D, A, B, O, D, and C, which were on display in Germany for a number of years. So they got cut up this year, and we managed to get some of those. So the older, the better, I guess, you know, but that's more difficult to get. If an aircraft is still around that was flying 50 years ago, it's because it's in a museum and it's getting a piece in it. Are hard, but like we got a BMI Baby 737, which was at the end of the runway at the airport has left me, but it was cut in 2, and one guy is making the front half of it into B&B and the back half of it's in storage somewhere. But the doors were taken out of the middle of it, so obviously that's an aircraft that just happened not to be scrapped, which we're going to do tags from, and there's a lot of people waiting for it.
Just the 380s are coming down the line as well, right?
Yeah.
So that would obviously be an exciting piece to get.
Yeah. We want to get a few more airlines from America and stuff as well. Again, there's some airlines we can't use the airline name, and there's some airlines we can't even use the registration. So you can only advertise it as the MSN, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And especially then if you can't have color, you can't have airline, you can't have registration. Unless people are looking specifically for that MSN, you can't say here's a American Airlines plane, you know. So
there's some great comments in the chat room. Lane Street is saying, can you ship me a 747 cockpit for his flight?
Sure.
Well, funny you may mention that. So maybe that's the
that's your cue, Drew. That's your cue.
So we are looking at acquiring as much of a 747 as we can.
Oh my goodness.
So I can't tell you where it is, what airline, what registration, but we are in furthering discussions about it. And what to do with it, because we want to step change the business so that, well, number one, so that Anya and I can leave our main jobs. So we want to do something around some form of aviation experience. I think the UK is lacking that one-stop shop thing a bit. So you can go to Manchester Airport and you can see Concorde, and but there's a 747 in Kemble you can get onto, but having that overall thing with you know, a restaurant, you can stay in it, you can do a flight sim, you can have a bit of a training college, you can just go in and learn a bit about, you know, 747 history, for example. That, you know, there's maybe an engine bay that you can run an engine in. So there's something there, but we need to, obviously with the 747's dying, we need to acquire it pretty soon and either get the idea moving or stick it in storage somewhere. And I'll tell you, regardless of the size of section, it is over 6 figures to just, even if you're just going to take a cockpit, to take it and move it, it is over 6 figures. So that just brings the realistic thing down to whatever people say, can't believe that aircraft's being scrapped, it's a travesty, all of that. When you start to try and preserve them, it's
astounding. Yeah.
So I mean that number's really. I mean, sort of going back to what you were saying before, where a lot of people look at the numbers and they think, "Oh, that seems quite expensive," as I say. But I guess it hadn't even entered into my head, like the costs involved in actually producing the things that you do, isn't it? As you say, and the example you've given there, where you're talking like 6-figure numbers and stuff. I mean, that must be quite scary as well, because you've got to be sure that this thing is going to shift. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's definitely scary for me because I do the accounting side.
All right, yes, okay. Fair enough.
I work with the accountant and do the invoicing, so.
Right, yeah, yes.
I mean, if you say you buy a meter square section of aluminium, if you go and try selling aluminium to a scrapper, I don't know what you'll get for a meter square, 30 quid, something like that, So if the scrappers are starting to cotton on to this now, because some of them will say it's just not worth us cutting the aircraft. By the time we pay for the labor of that, we're not going to make any money from you for us to go and cut 2 windows out or 6 windows. So it's just easier for us to just scrap the whole thing. So once you get past that, some of the scrappers are cottoning on. So what was probably very affordable for us to just go in and lift a load of stuff, they're saying now actually they can make money from it, whereas before it would all have just gone into to be recycled.
Yeah, I mean, actually, along those lines, John's asking in the chat room, are there pieces that you'd like to get purely because of market interest? Are there requests you have from customers that are really hard to get?
So I guess the 747 thing was a lot. So we get asked for specific regs. So there's the Iron Maiden, ex-Iron Maiden 747 that's just gone into Kemble. It touched down, and about 10 minutes later, I had a message on Instagram going, when are the cuts going to appear online? Unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. We don't get, I mean, the aircraft is still stored. Is it even going to be scrapped straight away? Who knows? So it's things like that we get specific registration requests for, especially around the 747s, and from, spotters who see aircraft going into the likes of Kemble or St. Athan. But it doesn't always mean that aircraft is meeting its demise, as I say. So that, and I guess requests for older aircraft, requests for safety cards is another big thing as well. So we get requests for specific cards. We do like cabin crew uniforms. So we had a request for one of the old Paul Costello British Airways hats. So it's amazing whenever I go and buy off private sellers, the stuff that people hoard over the years, which is great for us now. The stuff that people collect is mad.
I'll pull down my Aer Lingus uniform one of these days, Drew, and we'll...
Yeah.
Richard Adams makes quite an amusing comment in the chat room. He's saying, just picturing the Emirates A380 at Manchester taxiing past with lots of little squares cut out from various places.
So Emirates have scrapped their first one. I think they're on the second one now. So there is tags have just been produced from that, and Emirates want full control, as you would expect. So they're selling it through a provider in the UAE. So who's to know? We might get some down the line from Emirates, but again, it's all white.
We'd have to make sure we had access to that ramp as well before we start chopping little squares out of it.
Exactly, definitely.
Nev?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Anya, just looking at the website again, I mean, the documentation that's required to do all of this stuff and all the EPOS stuff and all the back end to the website, the photography and the description. I mean, this is a full-time job, isn't it, by any stretch of the imagination?
I think it's definitely busier than what we probably thought it would be initially. And, like Drew and I have said a couple of times, sometimes it's a couple of hours before we start our 9 to 5, in the morning. And certainly every evening, I know our other halves are, can you please put the phone down? Because we're online. We're online sometimes till 10, 11 at night, trying to get things sorted. like Drew mentioned, we do have somebody working with us now who does a lot of the listing for us. The pictures, because most of the stock's in the UK, is normally Drew. And it's funny because I'm the one that's posting on social media. I'm like, it's not really nice enough. So can you take it again? And Drew's always telling me off for that, or I'm telling him off. But yeah, there is a lot of work that goes into it, and neither of us really thought that it would be this successful this quickly. We've had a whirlwind of a year. But like we said, we put every extra hour and over the weekends into it. But we're just making it work for the moment because we're dedicated to doing that. But equally, we're conscious of the fact that we've got full-time jobs as well. So we're muddling through and doing what we can to try and fulfill all our customers' needs and making sure that the website is up to scratch as well at all times.
Yeah.
Yes, and we as I sort of touched on earlier about the personal thing. So I post in a lot of the groups and so people like that personal connection that they can message and ask the requests and all of that. That's obviously very difficult to manage whenever you're also the same person who's packaging it and posting it and listing it online and doing the social media thing. So sometimes, and I get a lot of messages personally from people because I'm the one sharing the Doors2Manual post in some of the plane spotting groups. So sometimes it's there's no let up, but it's rewarding from that perspective.
I think we've both gone through times where our other halves have either been helping us with the customer order sheet or doing invoicing for us. So we've roped in as many people as we can. It's just we don't necessarily have to pay them.
Yes, some cheap labour.
So we're going to start to wrap up the chat with you guys. Couple more questions left though for you before we say goodbye to you guys. But first, also one of the last questions I just wanted to ask is where to from here. Where obviously you've got an incredibly successful business. There's no two ways about that. Whatever way you look at it, I personally think it's amazing. But where are we going to go from sort of here with the business? Do you think?
I think we're tight on the product that we sell. So I don't think there's going to be an expansion of types of products. Mike is just about to start a whirlwind with the tags. We've just transferred over the full engraving process to Mike from Jetstream TV. So that's the engraver actually arrived with Mike this afternoon. So
he should have most of his tags done by now.
Oh, she is a slave driver, isn't she? Blimey! You can tell she does the accounts, can't you?
I'm wondering why he's sitting on this call, and I hope he's already started testing using that engraver. Otherwise, he's in the So probably pushing with the tags, looking at this 747 experience, we have to step into the business, as I said. So we're always wanting to bring more stock in globally. We have the stock to a level where we're sort of happy that we're able to keep moving, but we're always wanting, there's an expectation from our customers that we're bringing new stuff onto the website every day. And I think we've listed new stock nearly every day since we've been on, which has unfortunately created a rod for our own back there. But yeah, so hopefully the 747 experience will bring something new to it. So watch the space.
I think generally both of us are kind of like, if you don't try, you never know. So we just always try. So, we're always looking for those opportunities, and, if it works out, well and good. If not, then at least you've tried, Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rich Adams in the chat room says that PTUK tags would sell. What do you think, guys?
Right. Okay. The other thing is we're gonna have to cut up one of your windows, I think, mate, because we haven't got
any. Moving swiftly on.
Okay.
The other idea is, do we stop planes? So we have a brand already for cruise, so for shipping. So do we cut up ships, cars, trains, buses? The train thing's big, so it's do we
stick a plane.
I was just about to hang up there.
Yeah. I'm out. Thanks for playing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So one last question for each of you separately, which is a question we ask all our guests on the show. But first, before we ask that question, would you guys like to just plug away where our listeners can find out about your glorious website?
Yeah, so website is Doors2, obviously number 2, Doors2Manual.org. And our social media is Doors2Manual _ on Instagram. Our Twitter is the same, and our Facebook is facebook.com/doors2manual. You're best to follow the social media, because that every new product we get basically goes on social media. If there's one-offs, it will be on there. Any auctions, we do quite a few auctions for bigger pieces. And you can find us on eBay as well. Some people prefer the protection of eBay, and that's totally fine. You will have to pay a little bit more on eBay because of the cost that we incur with that. And also we will offer you guys a 15% discount code to put on the
hello.
Oh,
Oh no.
Oh dear, what's Carlos going to buy now?
Oh no, what have you done? I mean, thank you, but oh my God, what have you done?
So yeah, it's not created yet, but we'll do something like Plain Talking 15 or something. So we'll give it to you so you can publish it, Carlos.
Okay.
Oh, brilliant! That's great.
So not just for you, for your listeners as well.
That's very kind. Thank you very much.
I'm going to block your account,
Carlos. You only get one use. One use.
Yeah, one use only. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you'll get one from his personal account, one from the Plain Talking UK account, one from.
I better make sure I fill the basket.
Yeah, so I'll set it to Plain Talking 15, and that'll go live in the next 5 minutes if I can get on to do it.
Plain Talking 15. That's very kind of you guys. Thanks for that. That's very kind indeed. But we do have a question for you. Nev has got them lined up ready for you each, and it's a question, like I said, that we ask all our guests on the show. Now I know, Drew, you obviously looked down the piloting kind of thing. So Nev, far away.
Well, it's a question for both of you guys, and the question is, if you had the opportunity to fly any aircraft, be it civil, military, current, commercial, GA, military, anything at all, what would it be?
On you go first.
I have to think, Drew. I don't have them off the top of my head. Am I flying on it or am I flying it?
You're flying it.
Flying it.
Flying it.
Yes.
I definitely will say ZD241, the VC10, because it seems to have been such a sacred aircraft. And I've never had the experience of, even because I know it did taxi and engine runs and all of that, and I didn't get to experience that. So yeah, VC10 for me.
Yeah.
I think I would probably.
It's given so much to the UK military side of things too. So there's that side.
Drew knows far too much detail than I do, so I'm just going to go ahead and say the biggest one that I've seen, so the 380.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's purely because I always go for the high-powered and the big cars as well. So I'll choose the big aircraft, the biggest aircraft that I've seen. So we'll go 380.
Marvelous.
Good. That's two completely different answers to what we've had in the past. So well done, guys. So that is where we're going to bring the chat with you to a close. I'm going to say a massive thanks to you both for coming on the show. Really do appreciate it. Taking time out your Friday evening to join us on the show. As I said, we will put all the links in the show notes to the awesome website, Doors2Manual. That's Doors, the number 2 Manual in the website. We'll put all the links and that into the show notes. So you'll be able to click on there, and that very generous discount code as well. So thank you guys for that. So thanks from all the team for joining us on the show this evening, and we wish you all the absolute very best for the future, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much for having us, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, welcome to our London studios. Welcome to the A320 Lounge webinar tech presentation, obviously for the 320 series.
Welcome to the A320 and 737 Lounge, bringing technical refresher courses directly to you. Using our cutting-edge broadcasting facilities, enjoy a fully interactive technical refresher course from the comfort of your own home. All of our webinars are live, and you can ask your instructor a question at any point during the day. All of our instructors are highly experienced and can help you. No more expensive nights away from home, no new software required, just an internet connection. Courses are run at regular intervals, so check out A320 Lounge and 737lounge.com for more details.
Discover the pioneers of speed and adventure at one of the UK's most iconic museums. Whether it's a tour of the legendary Concorde, a walk around the Brooklands aircraft factory, or maybe a behind-the-scenes look at the McLaren automotive cars, the Brooklands Museum has it all. Based at Weybridge in Surrey, it's the perfect day out for all the family. We can also host your private function or meeting in one of our amazing event suites. With so much to see and do, come and take a look at Great Britain's history of speed and flight. Find out more by going to www.brooklandsmuseum.com or give us a call on 01932 857 381. That's 01932 857 381.
Small.
Oh, that was so much fun! What a great couple of guys they are, eh? That was I really enjoyed that.
That was good, honestly. It's one of them things like you saying, Matt. You know, when you look at these aircraft being scrapped, cut up, and stuff, you kind of think, oh, it's worthless. There's nothing there. It's just an old. But it's the cost that goes into all. Yeah. That goes into doing the whole job and everything is phenomenal.
Didn't even, as I say, when they were saying that bit for me, as I say, when they were saying it's like, they're looking at a 747 and, all of us were getting super excited about the fact that it was going to be a 747 possibly available and, all that kind of thing. And then they say the words, a six-figure sum just to move it.
Just to move it, yeah.
I mean, it's scary, isn't it? It really is. It sort of gives you an idea. It's a sort of like a peer behind the curtain almost of what goes into doing something something that sounds so simple as well. Yeah,
are you going to be making a purchase, Mr. Bones?
That's the trouble, you see. Once you start scrolling through that website,
yes,
I've said no, I'm definitely not going to buy anything. And then I just came across something. Oh, actually, that looks quite nice. Oh, it's only
that would look nice on
yeah. And we genuinely didn't know that there was going to be a discount offered to us either. So that was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, that's
as well.
Very good. Yeah. So Plane Talking 15 is that discount code.
And what was and how much was the discount again? What did we get?
15%.
15%. Very good. Oh,
lovely. It's lovely. Honestly,
Steady on.
Get yourselves over to the Doors2Manual website. Yeah. Honestly, guys.
What is the website, by the way? Because it did break up a bit when you were saying it.
Doors2, as in the number 2, so Doors2Manual.org is the website. And there's a shop on there. There is literally, honestly, as Nev said, there is pages and pages and pages
and pages. Yeah.
Aviation memorabilia. You can get lost in there and spend an awful lot of money.
Good
as I won't be later.
No, of course not. Absolutely. Or at least wait until Gemma's in bed.
And on that,
she's just bought you some wine, hasn't she? You've just got rumbled, haven't you? I love it.
Damn it.
Dagnang it. Yeah, she's going to be cancelling all the cards immediately. Yeah.
Oh, blimey. What have I done? Honestly.
You started it.
I know. But thanks again to the guys for coming on the show. It's been good to have them on. But we shall hopefully hear some stories from listeners over the coming weeks as to what they've purchased from the store.
Absolutely.
So, guys, we've got some commercial news to do. So, if everyone is ready.
Yeah, okay. Are we going to do the Patreon?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. Patreon.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Sorry about that. That's me scrolling down too far on the.
Right. Okay. All right then.
Nev, it's an important time of the month, and we should raise our glasses to some awesome people.
We should, absolutely.
Very much so, yes. And this month we are thanking Dirk S., Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivey, Nicholas Codling, Lewis Cachares, Andrew van der Sarg, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Megan Carrion, Jacob Darlington Brown, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha, Owen, Ruben Wells, Neil Lanwarn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Eric Graves, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Myla, Jenny Parkinson, Evan Shue, Philip Labe, Stuart Backer, Ray Williams, Stephanie Plummer, and those who used the PayPal method of making their contribution: Mazuz Kareem, Craig Urosoko, Tony Stubbings, and Richard Adams. Thank you very much indeed for your fantastic contributions, because probably next month we won't get as much money because I've spent it all over on the Doors2Manual with the 15% 50% discount. So let's take advantage of this whilst we
Yes, I'd like to say he was joking, but I don't think he is somehow. That's the only thing that's a little bit on the worrying side. Never mind,
No, big thanks to all our Patreon and PayPal donators, honestly, to the show, because it is you guys that help us do this show and put this show together each week. It's not just us as a team. It's not just John, our producer. It is you as a Patreon and PayPal donator, which helps glue everything together each week. But us helps put the show out. So, so thank you to everyone. So, shall we do some commercial news stories? We've got some interesting ones this week.
We have, let's do it, shall we?
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Just looking at Richard Adams' comment in the chat room here that the coffee fund will be empty, or the Patreon fund will be empty at the end of the month.
I'll give it an hour. Yeah.
Oh, blimey. Anyway, our first news story for this week comes to us from flightglobal.com, and the headline is Vietnam A321 flew domestic sector after suffering a vehicle collision damage. So Vietnamese authorities are said to be investigating why an A321 was able to continue operating, having sustained substantial damage to its aft fuselage, apparently from a forklift vehicle. The Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam was informed by the Ministry of Transport that the aircraft suffered a fuselage dent beyond permissible limits at Ho Chi Minh City on the 17th of April, but was then flown to Phu Choc. Vietnamese outlet VTC News, which is directly linked to the government, says the investigation will be verifying the circumstances of the incident. But it also states that surveillance images from the security cameras show the aircraft, Victor November Alpha 603, was undergoing maintenance in the vicinity of its tail with the assistance of a forklift platform on the night of the 16th of April. The Vietnamese authorities believe the vehicle was extracted improperly from the maintenance location and its protective frame collided with the aircraft. Damage to the jet, including indentations of around 60 to 50 centimeters and cracks to the auxiliary power unit doors, were not noticed during the pre-flight checks for VN 1823, the service to Phu Choc. The aircraft was grounded for repair after the damage was discovered upon arrival. And the Vietnam Airlines took delivery of the twin jet powered by International Aero Engines V2500s in the early 2013s and has been its sole operator since then. Now, just looking at that picture that Matt's got on the screen there, I mean, there's definitely a ding to the panel there. It doesn't look that serious, but then obviously with these sorts of things, you can't just say, "Well, that's not, it doesn't look serious. We'll leave it."
But if it's an indentation of around 60 centimeters by 50 centimeters, that is quite large, isn't it? You've got to say.
Yeah. Of course, you honestly with these things, you have to remember. Like there was that. Remember that DC-10 that had the engine come off on rotation. Do you remember years ago, Nev, back? I think it was in the late 80s. There was an American Airlines DC-10, and that was due to the that engine being incorrectly managed by a forklift truck, wasn't it, at the time on there?
Gosh, I do remember that. Yeah.
So you have to be very careful with equipment around aircraft, I think is the word there. But moving on to the next story, and Matt, this one is a Ryanair one, especially for you, and it's shock horror.
Well, yes, quite. This is from NDTV, and the headline is Ryanair leaves 14 checked-in passengers behind. Ryanair, Ireland's low-cost airline, is in the middle of a controversy for leaving 14 of its passengers. The incident took place on Saturday the 30th of April at Palma Airport. The blunder happened even after these passengers had checked in and arrived at the gate on time. According to The Independent, the mistake happened when the ground crew divided passengers in groups to be taken on shuttles to flight FR 5729 to Malaga. Quoting Spanish publication Ultima Hora, The report says that when the final bus was full, the last group of 14 passengers was asked to wait for another shuttle. There was a woman among the travellers who was afraid of her scheduled chemotherapy appointment in being missed. The bus, however, never arrived, and in the meanwhile, passengers waiting at the gate C55 were shocked to realise that the plane had taken off without them. Ryanair offered all of the customers another flight at 10 p.m. on the same night, as well as a €4 voucher. Ooh, steady now, to use at the airport shop. €4? Seriously, what is €4 going to buy someone? Anyway,
of chewing gum?
A packet of chewing gum, absolutely. That'll be very nourishing, I'm sure. The airport handler who operates the airport shuttle bus at Palma de Mallorca failed to collect this small group of passengers awaiting their bus at the airport gate to bring them to their plane, causing them to miss their flight to Malaga on the 30th of April, the airline told The Independent. Now, weirdly, I actually do feel a little bit sorry for the airline here, because these things do happen, don't they? I mean, mistakes are made, let's be fair. You can't always... I mean, yes, obviously, somebody's done something terribly wrong here, I know, but I mean, I'm actually quite impressed they got them onto another flight that same evening. So, I mean, there could have been a far greater delay very easily here.
But 1 or 2 passengers, but 14?
I mean, the trouble is when the bus is full, isn't it? And if the information to the people operating the shuttle hasn't been made clear, then once you've got sort of if the average flight requires only 3 shuttles, unless you make a specific request, it's probably been overlooked or not thought about. I mean, that having
well,
there's been a mistake made here, obviously.
If Matt Smith was driving that coach, they would have all been there on time.
Oh, absolutely.
You're relying on whoever it is, probably Swissport or someone like that, to give the people all the information they need. Do you know what I mean? It's anyway. I feel sorry for the passengers, but in Ryanair's defence, I mean, they got them there that the same evening, I guess.
Dirk Guess is probably saying, don't they count how many passengers are on board?
No, to be silly. It's done it's probably done when they check in and through there, isn't it? But I mean, you could very easily lose count of the amount of people, especially like if you're at Stansted and you end up standing in that stairwell for I don't know how long while you're waiting for that.
Producer John is saying €4 is probably a full refund for that flight.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, probably true.
Anyway, let's get on with the next story, because this is another exciting story. This is for you, Nev, and it's all about a rather iconic aircraft returning with BA.
Oh, yes, I'm looking forward to this very much. This is on the mediarunsearch.co.uk, and it says that BA will return to fly the Boeing 757. Well, not quite, but British Airways is going to wet lease 2 Boeing 757-200s from Titan Airways, which operates charter flights in the UK, as well as 4 Airbus A321-200s from Finnair to meet the expected high demand for the European summer season, which begins this month. The last model of the American manufacturer regularly flew abroad, British Airways, in October 2010. The company already had about 60 of these aircraft, which began operating in January 1983. The 2 planes offered by Titan Airways, which is Golf Papa Oscar Whiskey Hotel and Golf Zulu Alpha Papa X-Ray, have the capacity to take up to 202 passengers each and have been in commercial operation since the year 2000. They have tickets for other airlines such as Iberia and will cover some routes that they must operate. The Boeing 787-10, which has some units stockpiled in the United States due to the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the sector. The leases are also good news for Finnair, which will temporarily allocate 4 of its 20 A321-200s to British Airways. The Finnish airline is currently in difficulties due to the closure of the airspace of Russia, a neighbouring country, of course, and is facing serious problems in resuming flights to destinations in Asia due to restrictions imposed on the country of Vladimir Putin. The temporary assignments of these units will be an exemption, even if temporary, from the company's funds. They have the capacity to take up to 209 passengers, and their average age is about 8 years. So both of those 757s started life with Iberia. back in 2000. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on. So yes, I've been the victim of a number of BA flight cancellations over the last month due to crew shortages and aircraft shortages in some cases too. So this will hopefully plug a little bit of a gap for the next couple of months during the summer period for them.
I have to say, Nev, one of my, and I think you'll agree with me here, one of my favourite liveries from BA was their Landor livery. And I still think the 7.5 with the Landor livery looks so damn good.
Totally. Yeah, so absolutely. And I do miss that aircraft a lot on the shuttle routes it used to do to Glasgow, Edinburgh, Belfast, Manchester. Absolutely iconic aircraft. Massively overpowered and a very distinctive sound, both from the inside and the outside on departure.
Actually, Lee Davies, Nev, is saying in the chat room, the sound of the RB211s on the 7.5 are epic.
Oh, they certainly are. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the next story. This one comes to us from Forbes.com, and this is just amazing, honestly. A headline is Airport Chaos. US tourists bring unexploded souvenir bomb to Israel's Ben Gurion Airport. Anyway, a member of the family had reportedly picked up the explosive as a souvenir on a visit to Israel-occupied Golan Heights, airports officials told the Times of Israel. The region was pummeled by heavy bombings and artillery fire during the Six-Day War with Syria back in 1967. Ben Gurion Airport outside Tel Aviv has some of the highest levels of security in the world. All cars, taxis, buses, and trucks go through a preliminary security checkpoint before entering the airport compound. Once inside, travelers go through additional screening. And yesterday at the security checkpoint, an American family showed the souvenir shell to authorities who promptly announced an evacuation. Obviously, the video footage, as Matt is playing on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, the video posted on social media shows chaotic scenes with some travelers dropping to the floor, others running through the airport in panic. The Israeli Airports Authority told Israeli media that one man was hospitalized with injuries after he tried to climb over a baggage carousel. Israeli journalist Iti Bumtal tweeted, although not many beats anymore, it's impossible to ignore the hallucinatory sights at Ben Gurion Airport tonight. He said the American family traveling in the Golan Heights collected the fallen shell and took it with them in a suitcase. The American family were reportedly interrogated briefly by security, I bet that was brief, and cleared to board their flight. Remnants from wars that took place decades or even centuries ago can still contain live explosives. Just last month, a group of archaeologists stumbled across an intact Civil War bomb at the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield in Georgia. In the United States, the Transportation Security Administration, or the TSA as we know it, regularly confiscates toy, replica, and other weapons found in people's luggage. Those include described such as inert smoke grenades, souvenir replica landmines. What? TSA officers also found an inert but real Civil War parrot shell in passenger belongings at Denver International Airport back in August 2019. Now, we discussed this before we started the show, didn't we, guys? And I think you said, Nev, didn't you? Of all the airports in the world to take this kind of souvenir through.
Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that, really. And my experience of Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv is, they are very aggressive with their questioning even before you check in, and quite rightly so. They've got a very proud history of very good security at that airport. Therefore, it is not a good idea to do what you have just described.
No, honestly, I mean, oh, jeez. Anything of that description is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, honestly. Anyway, moving on to the next story. And I chose this story this week, especially for Matt, because I know Matt has a massive passion for this particular theme.
I see what you did there. Yes. Okay, this is... we're talking about Alaska Airlines, basically. It's from geekwire.com, and the headline, Alaska Airlines celebrates May the 4th with Star Wars-themed content and aircraft. It probably won't make the Kessel Run in less than 20 parsecs, but Han Solo should definitely be piloting this new plane from Alaska Airlines. In celebration of the May the 4th, or Star Wars Day as it's often known, the airline unveiled an aircraft with a paint job suitable for another galaxy. The space black plane features images from the iconic sci-fi franchise, including the Millennium Falcon being chased by TIE fighters. There are also porgs, the avian creatures that had lived on Luke Skywalker's home island, looking back at passengers from both winglets, and another at the boarding door. The plane is officially called Star Wars Transport to the Disneyland Resort and is a collaboration from teams at Alaska, Disneyland Resort and Lucasfilm. The design celebrates Disneyland's Star Wars Galaxy Edge attraction and made its inaugural flight from Seattle Tacoma International Airport to Orange County in California on Wednesday. In further recognition of May the 4th, a play on the May the Force Be With You, Alaska was offering priority boarding to any passengers wearing Star Wars gear during their travels with the airline today. The airplane livery required 228 gallons of paint applied during 540 hours of work over 27 days, according to Alaska. There were 23 base colours applied before 23 base colours applied before the airbrushing of the Millennium Falcon and the TIE fighters. Now, I've got a picture of this, which I will pop up because Carlos did send it across here, and I must say, I do love it. It's only sort of like at the back here, isn't it? But I love that. I just love the attention to detail there. That's great. It's as I say, I love it when airlines does that. Do you know what? Actually, I think they should keep that. I love that. I think that looks really cool.
Do you know, I'm a big Star Trek fan. You all know that. Listeners all know that I love Star Trek. And
he's not a Star Wars fan though, which I find highly insulting.
I have watched the Star Wars films, but only probably once.
Oh, good lord! I watched them on May the 4th because those are the rules.
But I absolutely love airlines that do this kind of thing. And I think it is a fantastic idea to at least paint one of your aircraft fleet in a theme, be it Star Wars or whatever. I just think it looks bloody amazing. It really does. And I think that the passengers love it. You know, people actually take time out of their days to try and find these aircraft to take pictures of. And I definitely have. What would you love to see painted on the side of a BA aircraft, Nev?
That's a good question, actually. Your Doors2Manual account, which will probably cover most of it.
I think so. I think that's a good shout.
Actually, I will just say, when we wrapped up that interview, someone walked through that door and said, "You are not using that code and buying anyone."
No, I'll use it on your behalf.
Thank you, Nev. Cheers, Nev.
Well, quite. I'm glad we had this chat.
Anyway, moving on to the next story. Nev, we're back with BA, and we're back with a food story this week.
Oh, dear. Honestly, sometimes I can't find the words for this. This is on the mirror.co.uk. British Airways mocked for travesty jollof rice dish served on flight. British Airways has been savagely mocked online after serving a travesty of a rice dish, and they even spelled the name wrong. Twitter user Yova Rock shared a snap of the jollof rice, which they spelt Jolof dish, that was served on a flight to Ghana, and soon they were inundated with comments. Yova highlighted the first issue as the dish is actually called jollof with 2 L's, which is a Senegalese rice meal made with long grain rice, tomatoes, onions, spices, vegetable and meat. And soon other Twitter users flocked to the post to comment their take on the meal, as one branded it a travesty. Sharing a picture of her dish over said Twitter, "It's time I share with you the jollof rice British Airways served on my flight to Ghana a few weeks ago." One fan responded, "I hope you called police to ensure someone was arrested when the plane landed." And another said, "Well, to be fair, they said jollof. I can tell you where that travesty of a meal is from." Then a third wrote, "I'd have to fight the flight staff in defence of the ancestors." Others were concerned about the ingredients in the dish, as one said, "But where is the rice? Why are the onions winning?" asked a fourth user. Another added, "Is the ground pepper on the chicken? Okay, let me pass. I can only see coloured rice and not jollof." Others were not so harsh and credited the meal for following the colour scheme of the Ghanaian flag. One said, in their defence, "They served you the national flag of Ghana on your trip to Ghana." And then it emerged that a similar dish had been served on other airlines. As one user said, "I had a similar experience when I took a Virgin Atlantic flight to Lagos. I laughed." Well, obviously there's not enough going on in the world at the moment, is there? And Twitter can be a harsh platform at the best of times, can't it? But honestly,
did you have the pictures of that dish actually, Matt? In the
Oh, probably yes. Bear with me. Yeah.
let's have a look and let's join in with it.
Indeed, shall we?
I thought it looked like a very, when I saw the pictures on the site, I thought it looked like a very colourful, very tasty looking dish. Actually, myself, when I saw that. There we go. There's the standard BA silver foil coating on the meal there.
Yes.
Oh dear.
What do you think, Nev?
Well, yeah, okay. That's probably not going to do it for me, I must say. But you know,
I have a feeling
package,
that's not in seat 1A. Looking at the plastic cutlery,
maybe not.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that isn't the most appetising thing I've ever seen in my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, no one's talked about the taste, have they?
True.
They've only talked about the visual appreciation or otherise.
Or depreciation, I think, in this case.
Or lack of appreciation.
Actually, you say that. I've been privy to having a meal on an aircraft where you've peeled off the top, and I've looked at it and thought, oh my God, what the hell is this? But then I've eaten it, and it's been, God, blimey, this is really nice.
Like, yeah, really? Although you probably struggle with that because it'll be spicy, and you're not good at spice.
Oh well, yeah, spicy. Yeah. I'll tell you, the one meal that I did enjoy, Nev, was the meal on the way back from Dubai.
Oh, that was nice, wasn't it? Yes, that was.
That was like roast beef or something, though, wasn't it?
Fillet steak.
Oh, was it? Yeah, well, exactly. All right. Yeah, okay.
Yes, and it was the last time we will probably ever fly on a 747.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah. Sad times. Sad times.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. So the next story, moving on, is on the aviationonline.com website. And we're moving to cargo aircraft for this one. And Iceland Air and Ethiopian Airlines are adding 767 cargo aircraft. Bear in mind, I didn't say 777, I said 76. So Ethiopian Airlines division began the passenger to freighter conversion of the airline's first ever Boeing 767-300ER cargo aircraft. The work carried out at the Addis Ababa facility in collaboration with Israel Aerospace Industries makes it the first maintenance center on the African continent to authorize work on this model. This line joins IAI's already operational conversion facilities in Tel Aviv and Mexico City. And as reported by Airline, the first conversion will be performed on an 18-year-old aircraft with serial number 33768. It is expected to be ready in 2 months' time. It'll be followed by another 2 jets of the same model with serial numbers 33767, that's quite apt, and 33769, and an average age of 17 years old. The aircraft will be used by the Ethiopian carrier to expand its cargo capacity. And also, Iceland Air are acquiring 767s to be converted to freighters as well by ST Engineering. Iceland Air Cargo, the Icelandic Airlines cargo division, will take delivery of their Boeing 767 freighters converted by ST Engineering. The aircraft will join the fleet with in the northern autumn, arriving in Singapore on the 29th of April. They will undergo conversion work there during the summer. And the aircraft, a 767-300 owned by AerCap, is 23.3 years old with a serial number 28883. And it began flying back in January 1999, and its long life operated with, amongst others, as Britannia Airways, TUI Airways as well. And it's safe to say, I mean, we'd always look at the freighters. Most of the airlines seem to be using 777 freighters, I think, Nev, didn't they? But it's good to see the 76 has still got plenty of life left in it. So.
Oh yeah, and Iceland Air in particular, you know, have been big users of the 75 and 767 for passenger operations. So no, it's good to see them with a freighter version of it on a conversion. So yeah, great stuff.
Actually, it said there that they're converting these, Nev. It says it's expected to be ready in 2 months. That's not bad for converting passenger aircraft into to a freighter.
Yep, that's going some, isn't it?
Wonder what they do with the bits inside.
Oh no, don't start.
Anyway.
Moving on. Right. I mean, it's just like some great pictures here, actually. That as you say, of some of what was going on here. I mean, dear, it's a division. Well,
a lot of scaffolding going on there. There's a lot of scaffolding going on there. Actually, yeah.
There's a lot of people with microphones as well. I find
actually the pictures. I think have you got a couple of the pictures of the TUI 767 as well in that?
Is that one? No.
That's the one, yeah. That I love that livery, that TUI livery on those 767.
Do you know what? It's so nice to see one where it isn't just literally the fin that they've done. Do you know? Because so many of the aircraft now, they don't go that extra mile, do they? And it's just literally essentially. I know it's because it's cheaper to do it that way, but you know it's nice to sort of see someone. That's why I'm so excited about the one before, obviously with the May the 4th stuff. You know, it's nice to see. You know, it being done for a change. You know,
I tell you what, I do love as well, Mr. Bones, the 76s with the winglet, the blended winglets.
Yes,
the shark fins.
Yeah, and of course it with the 76s, I always thought that in some cases they looked better without them actually, but of course we've now got used to seeing so many aircraft with
winglets
with them on. With the shark fins on, and it does, as you say, very much look like a sort of blended as part of the whole wing structure, doesn't it? So,
Richard Adams is saying in the chat, remember those horrendous striped aircraft from a couple of weeks ago? We ran the story on the.
They look like the suite that Nick Codling managed to remember the name of, which I can't write. It was a Condor. It was a Condor or something like that.
Condor, yeah, that's it, Matt.
Yeah.
Blimey, Matt.
I know.
He's got a memory and a half on him, hasn't he?
I don't know where that came from. I can't remember what I had for dinner.
Well done, Mrs. Smith.
Do you know, I think it's because I made the show title that, and I think that's the only reason that stuck, to be honest with you. Okay. Anyway, we'll move on, shall we?
Move on to the next one. Now, this next story, Matt, I chose for you, one, because it's a really nice story, and two, because it involves dogs.
Absolutely, yes. So this is from Fox13Now.com, and the headline is Wyoming pilot rescues dogs by flying them to Utah. So the stories come from Logan in Utah. A small plane with more than 24 passengers landed at the Logan Cache Airport on Tuesday, the 26th of April. The passengers on board the Cessna aircraft weren't ordinary jet setters, though. The plane was loaded with 23 animals rescued from overcrowded shelters in West Texas. Dr. Pete Rourke from Jackson, Wyoming, is the founder of Dog Is My Co-Pilot. He flies the plane to areas where animals face euthanasia and transports them to places like Utah, where they're given a new lease of life. Rourke said, "We provide transport for the groups in the South that are completely overrun." Dr. Rourke said they wouldn't have made it to the end of the week. This flight began early in the morning in Denver City, Texas, after stops in Denver, Colorado, and Grand Junction in Colorado. 23 dogs were flown to Logan, where they were met by staff and the Cache Humane Society. These dogs today these dogs were taken to the Cash Humane facility where they received a bath and a veterinary exam. Now they are up for adoption. We have fixed over 30,000 animals in our community. We are at a point now where we have more adopters than homeless animals, and we are able to reach out to communities that need our help, said Stacey Frisk, the director of Cash Humane Society. Most of these dogs will be in their next home in under 2 weeks. That's amazing, isn't it? The Cash Humane Society has space in its shelter because of a high rate of spay and neutering in northern Utah. That isn't the case in other areas of the United States. According to ASPCA, the ASPCA, about 920,000 adoptable pets are euthanized every year because there isn't enough room in shelters in places like Texas, New Mexico, and the Central Valley of California for animals that aren't quickly adopted. Dr. Rourke is trying to chip away at that number by operating several flights each week. His organisation has 2 planes with plans to acquire a third. Pilots volunteer their free time to fly planes full of rescued animals. Rescue is my favourite breed, he said. We are coming up on 22,000 lives saved. Anyone who has a dog at home completely gets where we're coming from. Originally, Dr. Rourke planned to save just 10,000 pets. He has kept going after eclipsing that total because the reason for his philanthropic you get what I mean work is, thank you, very good, is so close to his heart. That's a lovely story, isn't
great.
it?
I know, it's great stuff, isn't it, when you have this kind of thing happening, and it seems to happen actually more in the US than it does here in the UK.
Yeah,
you don't
although
tend to hear about this happening.
We are quite good, I think, here, aren't we, about sort of looking after our animals. I mean, there's always an exception, isn't there? But yeah, I mean, I didn't realise the numbers were that high in the US. I guess we shouldn't be surprised, really, should we?
No, it's a really good idea as well. I know Hillel from APG, who does the bits on the APG.
He does the Slack thing, doesn't he? Yeah.
The Slack, yeah. Hillel also does this kind of thing as well because he's an aircraft owner.
Oh wow!
And he does the whole rescue dog things as well. He ferries pups about and stuff like that. So he also does this kind of work as well. I think it's so good. I love this.
Well, and good on Hillel for doing that. I think that's a brilliant idea, isn't it?
Yeah. So Nev, we're going to have a bit of nostalgia for this story, and there's loads of great pictures as well with this.
Yeah, and lots of stats which will make your eyes water compared to today's modern aviation. It's on the dailymail.com, and it says the BOAC Comet flew from London to Johannesburg this week back in 1952, making it the world's first ever jetliner to take off from London during this week. When the world's first ever jetliner took off from London, crowds cheered as 36 passengers began their pioneering journey to Johannesburg. It was the flight that promised to beckon a new era, one which made the world a much smaller place for those that could afford to fly by air. The de Havilland DH-106 Comet, which was Golf Alpha Lima Yankee Papa, took off from Heathrow, which was simply then known as London Airport, just after 3 p.m. It took over 23 hours for the plane to travel nearly 7,000 miles to its destination, with 5 stops along the way. At the time, the propeller-powered Hermes services were taking nearly 28 hours to get to the same destination, despite flying a route that was around 1,000 miles shorter than the Comet's. Britain was lauded for showing that British planes that had been built by British workers according to domestic designs could still lead the world. The price for single fare on the flight was £175, with return costing £315. When accounting for inflation, those figures amount to more than £5,300 for the single and £10,000 for the return sector. The flight was so successful that it attracted the eye of a US senator who said that his country had temporarily lost superiority in jet commercial transportation to Britain, even while America was providing financial and military aid to Europe after the devastation caused by the Second World War. But barely after a year it went into service, disaster struck the Comet when in March 1953 one crashed on takeoff in Karachi, killing all 11 people on board. In the year that followed, there were 2 further crashes, with investigations revealing a severe design flaw, which was metal fatigue caused in part by the plane's square windows. All Comets were grounded, and by the time they could re-enter service in 1958, the plane's reputation had been severely damaged. The world's airlines instead largely opted to fly with the American Boeing 707 and Douglas DC-8. Powered by 4 de Havilland Ghost jet engines, the Comet could reach speeds of 503 miles per hour, which meaning that the average journey times were halved. The height at which it flew, which was 40,000 feet, had previously only been the preserve of military jet fighters. The service to Johannesburg had 5 stops along the way, as we'd already mentioned, in Rome, Beirut, Khartoum, Entebbe and Livingstone in Zambia. Because of the length of the flight, the crew were replaced at both Beirut and then Khartoum. Each passenger on the flight received a certificate signed by the pilot on the first leg of the flight, which was Captain A.M. Mayandi. At 93 feet in length, the DH-106 was almost 15 feet shorter than its main competitor, the Douglas DC-6B. One of the main draws of the plane was the fact it was much quieter than its propeller-powered predecessors. A BOAC advert from May 1952 noted how the Comet was quiet and free from vibration, and a total of 16 Comet 2 planes were built but ended up not being used commercially and instead went into service with the RAF. Both the Boeing 707 and Douglas DC-8, which were also bought by airlines, could seat almost twice as many passengers as the Comet. So just think of what Qantas are planning to do with the A350 at the moment, which is to go from London to Sydney in 20 hours, carrying 200 and something people. I forget what the number is they're looking at doing in a couple of years' time. Quite amazing statistics, really, isn't it, if you think about it?
Yeah, I can remember you're saying there about the issues they had with the Comet. I remember that watching that documentary series on the Comet, and where I don't know if you knew about this, Matt, when they originally made the Comet, they made it with square windows. And obviously, when you get a piece of metal and you cut a perfect square, obviously at the corners are going to be stress points. Obviously, something that's square will obviously crack easier than something that's curved.
Right.
There's more strength of the curve. So when these aircraft originally went into service with square windows, being pressurized, then unpressurized, pressurized, and unpressurized, this constant movement of the fuselage, eventually it led to the issues they had with the cracks. Wow. And they lost a few of these, didn't they, Nev? The Comets over the times.
And of course, it was a big dent in British aviation manufacturing because of the loss of confidence in all this. And of course, it never made it back into the air until 1958. So that was some 6 years later.
And they actually built a tank, Matt. They built a huge tank. They put a Comet inside a tank, filled it with water, and obviously simulated flying in air pressurizing, and they eventually didn't they? They actually made it. They got this this aircraft fuselage to crack and explode, which is how they found out what the issue was in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very interesting. Yeah, very interesting indeed. So the next story, last story in the commercial news for this week, and there's a rather interesting video with this as well. And this was actually a news story that came online today, and this comes from dailymail.co.uk. And United Airline passenger is arrested for opening exit door and walking onto the wing. Something we'd all love to do, I think. So a man was arrested at Chicago O'Hare's airport after opening the emergency door and climbing out onto the wing as his plane taxied to the gate. Passengers aboard a United Airlines flight 2478 from San Diego were stunned when the man, who was not being identified, ripped open the emergency door in row 21 at around 4:30 a.m. on Thursday, as yesterday. He then walked down the wing before sliding off onto the airfield where the ground's airport crew had to stop him and call law enforcement. Mary Ellen Elston, who appeared to be sitting a few rows back from the man, posted a picture on Twitter of the door opening and writing, "The guy jumps out of my plane before we even get to the gate." He's since been taken into custody with the police and charges are pending, according to WGN9. They said the ground crew stopped the individual outside the aircraft and the person is now with the law enforcement agencies, the United Airlines said in a statement. It's unknown if he was under any type of influence. Blimey. An air traffic control recording obtained by NBC Chicago reported someone saying, "We had to stop short of gate Bravo 3. Someone pulled the rear right overwing exit and someone in seat 21 Bravo has exited the aircraft and is on the ramp." The aircraft was delayed around 20 minutes on the tarmac before being allowed to continue down the runway and safely deplane all the other passengers at the gate.
Oh,
well,
dear.
I mean, I know if you want to get off the aircraft quick, I mean, I know, Matt, you probably want to get off fairly
I literally
swiftly
can't wait to get off.
at the end of a flight. But I think even you, Matt, would probably not go as far as to go to the overwing exit, pop it open and walk out onto the wing. And
I mean, I'd certainly be keen to get out of the door, but that would absolutely not be... No.
I mean, this is a very distressing story. I mean, row 21?
No wonder he wanted to get out.
Yeah, you didn't realise they went up that high, did you, Nev?
No.
And let's not forget as well, guys, that the drop from the wing of, I mean, it doesn't say what aircraft this was, but
I don't think it really matters. It'll be high enough.
Even if it was a 737 or an A320 or something like that, the drop from a wing onto the concrete below is not a short drop.
Oh dear, no, you can do a lot of damage there.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
Honestly. So that is where we bring the commercial news segment to a close. And we've still got to do our Captionist competition for this week.
We have, yes. We must rattle through, I'm afraid, because we are sort of rapidly.
Here we go. We're going to, Matt's got our Captionist competition, a Captionist just for fun for this week. The picture, Matt, will pop up on the screen. Now, Nev, quick brief to our audio listeners as to what this particular picture is.
Yes, it looks like either an A319 or an A320 of PT UK Airlines, that well-known, excellent operator, with a lot of luggage actually strapped to the top of the fuselage.
I mean, you say excellent operator. I mean, this does concern me a little bit, I have to say. Not to mention the damage that's been done to the under fuselage by the cables.
Well, yeah, I mean, and some aerodynamic disadvantages. Possibly,
we'll call them aerodynamic challenges, shall we? Let's go with that.
Oh dear, the comments are coming in the chat room. But first, we'll read the ones that were put on our Facebook page. I'll kick off with Neil Draper's saying, PTUK to star in new comedy film called Carry On Baggage.
Right, okay. I mean, that's a little bit worrying. Stuart Thomas says, Dad, can you pass me down my sweets and iPad, please?
John Luke says PTUK launched their own package airline with major summer deals to save handling fees. Passengers are encouraged to use the airline's roof rack deal.
I like that, yeah.
Chris Ekiel says, look guys, we've got our best engineers on this. We've got to figure out how to carry more cargo. We're losing money every day.
Quite. Ben Jones says, recording gear in the hold, suitcases full of clothes on the roof rack. Here we go.
That'd be nailed.
And Alan White in true Cliff Richard style.
Oh, here we go.
We're all going on a summer holiday.
Oh, I see what you did there, yeah.
Jake Castle says, PTUK Airlines have come up with a new baggage handling system after passengers that aren't allowed off the aircraft without buying a PTUK mug and t-shirt.
Good point, well made. And Stuart Thomas says, if you're short of overhead cabin storage, please leave your bags by the door and cabin crew will store it for you for free on the roof rack.
So we have got a few comments in the chat room.
Which ones can we read, though, Carl?
Dirk Guess is saying, I love this one from Dirk Guess. Dirk Guess says, that's Carlos bringing home more L1011 parts.
Quite right too. Right. Yes, absolutely.
What else we got, Nev?
Let's have a look.
Family friendly, obviously.
Yes, I was going to say.
That's the challenge, is it, at the moment?
Here's one from Richard Adams.
I like this one.
Can't be Nev's bags, the ropes aren't straight.
Good point, well made. There's some, yes, it's very untidy, isn't it? That won't do at all.
David M says, Ryanair introduce a new maybe get their luggage price option.
I'm fascinated by his profile picture. Is it an essential Waitrose fairy liquid bottle or something like that?
Bottle. Yeah, I like that.
Oh dear, never mind.
Bill in Ottawa says, not sure that's what they meant by overhead storage.
Yes, no, I can see what they mean by that. Yes.
Very good.
I must admit, I would love to see this aircraft go into flight with this particular option of storage.
I mean, as Nev mentioned, at the top of the show, however, though, or the top of this piece, I mean, there are some, aerodynamic challenges through adding a roof rack to the aircraft. Yes, I don't think it'll work. I'll be honest with you.
I know. So don't forget, if you want to contribute to our Caption This Just for Fun segment on the show, take yourselves over to our Facebook page and look for us there, Plane Talking UK. You'll find us on there. And every Wednesday, we put a picture on Facebook for you to comment on with your wittiest, funniest comments.
If Carlos remembers.
If I remember, which I normally do. I tend to try. So, Nev, for all our listeners, in case they didn't know, where can they find us on social media?
Oh, yes, on the socials. It's Facebook, Twitter or Instagram. Just search for Plane Talking UK. Our WhatsApp number, if you would like to contact us or send us photos, that kind of thing, +44 757 22 49166. That's +44 757 22 49166.
Which has been down, unfortunately, this evening, by the way. So apologies if you have been sending messages in today. I'm having trouble accessing it for reasons best only known to our service provider.
Ah, yes. Bless them. However, you can email us at podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and the website is www.planetalkinguk.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll get notifications when we go live. And you can just go to youtube.com for that and search for Plane Talking UK. As mentioned earlier, you can do your shopping from our Amazon link. We get paid a small referral fee if you do it that way, and you can become a Patreon as well and donate by that method, and the Patreon link is on our website also. So once again, thanks very much indeed to all our Patreon and PayPal donators.
Yes, indeed. And that is where we are going to wrap up episode 310 of the show for this week. Going to say a big, massive thank you to our guests on the show tonight from Doors2Manual.org. Make sure you check out their website. And don't forget as well, we have got a special Plane Talking UK discount code, which is Plane Talking 15. If you plug that in on their voucher code on the website, that is Plane Talking 15. Get yourself 15% discount on the shop on the Doors2Manual website. All the information will be on the show notes for the website as well, with the links to click on as well for them. So big thanks to those guys for joining us on the show tonight for a great chat at the start of the show. And a big thanks as well to Nev and Matt as well for joining me this evening on the show. As always, great to see you guys on the show, and hopefully Armando will be back with us next week. I won't be here next week because I will be stuck in Birmingham at an exhibition centre next Friday. So I will probably be tuning in from the A14 on the way home or something like that when I've finished. So I shan't be here next week, but I'm sure the guys will bring you an excellent show as they always do each week. So that's it then for 310. Well, or 410, I should say.
310?
Episode 410. Episode 410 of the show. I know it's this wine. Gemma
don't make me do the 400th all over again, please.
I know. That's it then. So from me, Carlos here in the home studio, from Matt over in the PTUK Master Suite studios, and from Nev in his glorious home studio in the sprawling Buckinghamshire countryside. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and they will see you all next Friday. Bye-bye.
See you.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.